Well, if you thought that Conor McGregor was classy in his defeat at UFC 264, just wait till you hear what he's done now. Good old Conor McGregor took to the Twitter sphere to call out a couple of people. Said, to Dustin, or I guess not really Dustin, more to Oliveira, spit shine the belt for me, right? Said a couple other things here and there. The most notable one was in reference to a Khabib tweet where Khabib had said, good will defeat evil, all this stuff when Dustin beat McGregor at UFC 264. And McGregor goes on to say, oh, so COVID is good and your father is evil, taking a shot at Nurmagomedov's late father, who, passed away from COVID during the pandemic. So that's obviously the biggest thing he said. He said a couple other things, but we'll focus on that because that's the one that's really ruffled a lot of feathers and people are like, whoa. Drake, I'm going to be honest, it took me a minute to get what he was referencing because it wasn't quite as clear to me at first. So I was like, COVID's good, father's evil. And then once I put two and two together, I was like, oh, he really went there. Because I didn't, make that connection because I thought he was more of a decent human. But
shame on you.
Yeah, I know. So what's your reaction to this? Because I've seen two trains of thought here, in two camps. One, he crossed a very big line and it's terrible and he should apologize. Two, trash talk is trash talk and everything is on the table, including that. What are your thoughts on this, Drake?
Well, first of all, I'm not surprised at this stage. I'm truly not, after seeing how he handled this Dustin trilogy lead up and aftermath. Guy doesn't care. And I mean, even before that, Pat, as we talked about in that video afterward, he's crossed the line a little bit already beforehand, with other comments related to Khabib. And when this tweet particularly did come out, I understood what he was referencing, not in terms of Khabib's tweet. I didn't remember that one until, I remembered it once I saw it again, but it's like, okay, well, that's talking about his dad and everything. I don't even know if I would consider it trash talk. It doesn't feel like it, because when you think about trash talk, yeah, usually that's fun and it has a purpose generally. I mean, fun for the fans, maybe, I shouldn't say a fun thing, not that way. You don't usually trash talk in terms of fun, unless you're promoting, right? So this doesn't feel promotional to me. It doesn't feel fun for anybody, clearly. I mean, maybe Conor, because he's insane like that. But in terms of this particular comment, I read it and I'm like, yeah, man, that's obviously not cool. It was pretty fucked up. It doesn't bother me maybe as much as it would. I think about it this way, right? If that was about me and my dad, I'd be, that's a different story, right? So I think about it that way, where thankfully people are, pretty upset about it. And I mean, just agreeing that it's not a cool thing to say, because I think that most of us put ourselves in that position where, holy shit, man, if somebody said that to me and a guy who I already have history with and I already whooped his ass, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? It'd be a little bit of, in that case, if I was to be like, man, I really feel bad for this guy, but still fuck you. Because, that's insanely over the line, right? Just especially considering how close they were. As a very public thing, not like they were, they were out there, but you know what I mean? Not like being followed around all the time by cameras or anything, but just, I don't get the point of it anymore, and I felt this way once the Poirier stuff started for the trilogy, because you just lost, man. You're not saying anything clever. You're not saying anything that even makes sense because of the fact that you just got knocked out. And then Khabib isn't fighting anymore. He's not. Right. You're not going to ever fight him again anymore unless you see him on the streets or some shit. Because it's not going to happen, buddy. Sorry. And, the Oliveira thing, the belt comment, hilarious. Like, I don't think anyone buys that anymore either. We know you're not getting there unless the UFC gifts you one after beating, let's say, a Diego Sanchez, because you were open to fighting him at one point. Or, something like that. And then what? He responded to Ali when Ali said, your time will come, which that's, other kind of thing. And then he's like, not before yours or something. So they had their little back and forth. Conor deleted all the tweets now, probably by the advisory of his management, I would assume. So
I would assume that's
little
true.
Damage control. But I just don't understand it anymore. That's the main thing for me, Pat. I don't get it.
So I understand what you're saying. So here's the thing. Like, when I saw the tweets and understood what they meant. Hold on, I'm pausing because I have a little. Okay, that's good. My connection thing. No, yeah. All right, let me try it again. All right. So I understand trash talk being kind of like whatever, right? I am of the mindset where, I'm a kid that wasn't allowed to watch South Park growing up, but snuck around and saw South Park and kind of, love South Park. And very much of that ideology of like, well, nothing's off limits joke-wise. Like, there's no line to cross because it's all open for jokes. Trash talk, right. Trash talk is similar in that regard where you have a lot more leeway, right? But I think a very important thing about this is that this wasn't trash talk. As you mentioned, like, it wasn't really that. Like, Khabib is retired. Conor just came off a loss. They're not going to fight. Like, it's not going to happen. If Khabib decided to come back, he would not be fighting Conor McGregor, right? Unless it was some crazy blood feud, which actually now that's probably something the UFC will try and get Khabib to do. But it was a shot that just didn't really need to happen and really didn't make sense for what he was doing, right? Like, similar to how if you're going to make that like super raunchy or that super like, whoa, taboo subject joke, like if it doesn't land, like then you're in trouble. Like, yeah, if it lands, like, okay, but if you take that risk, it doesn't land, oh, you're in trouble. And so this was the ramblings of someone who, honestly, it reminded me kind of a little bit of, I want to say, John Jones, right? We've seen him do this, where he just goes on tweeting sprees that all of a sudden it's all deleted. Same type of deal. And it just doesn't really sound like it's somebody who is all there in terms of, whether or not, I can't say whether or not he's on drugs or doing something like that. There's a lot of speculation and all that out there. But he doesn't seem to be in the right headset that he has shown before this trilogy fight, right? The way he handled the loss in the cage was the first time we've seen him really not be humble in any sort of fashion, or at least pretend to be humble. We've never seen him... We've seen him act very stupidly and do stupid things, but then kind of maybe pull it back in, or at least appear to pull it back in and do these different things. Still doesn't mean he hasn't done terrible, terrible things, and we know this pattern, but this is just someone who is upset that they lost and is just crying about it like a baby and just lashing out at everybody around them. Because he knows that, like, with that loss, he's in big trouble in terms of his aura, in terms of his ability to go around and say that he's the king and fighting, to have that swagger. It takes a hit. You've got to be able to back that up. And he hasn't done it in the past two fights. And yeah, it sucks that the fight ended because his ankle broke or whatever. I mean, that does suck. Not how I wanted to see the fight end. I'd love to see a fourth match between the two, because I just would love to see that fight end in a way of one of them going to sleep. But nevertheless, he lost. And it's done. Taking shots at somebody's dead dad doesn't...
While he's recovering.
Well,
mind you.
Right. It just doesn't make sense. Like, there's no rhyme or reason. It's not trash talk to build to another fight. It's not, going, whoa. Like, it's just being mean for no reason other than, you're a baby and you lost. Get over it, Conor. So, yeah, it's just dumb.
Yeah, it is. And it makes you kind of think, like, what is this ultimately going to lead to? Like, sure, the UFC is going to brush it off. I'm sure that they are already doing that. Like, if Dana gets asked or whatever, I'm sure that he'll be like, yeah, not cool. Like he pretty much was after the fight. He said he didn't like that he was saying those kind of things about the family and all that. And even you remember about with the Khabib build up and the press conference and all that. It's like, this is so dark and yada yada.
Yeah, he said that a million times, and then he uses the Conor throwing the dollar through the bus for his promotional footage. It means nothing.
Yeah. So
absolutely nothing.
It just makes you think, like, all right, how far will I don't know. I don't want to say we let him go, because I think this is about as close to snapping what the camel's back or whatever they say in terms of words as we've been, which is funny considering the history as we did speak about recently, Pat. I don't know. I just don't know.
Again, it's one of those things where it is a scandalous act that will blow over, right? The media called it out. We're calling it out. I've seen other sites call it out. Seen a lot of fans call it out. I know that we, as well as several other sites, if Conor comes back, will cover his next fight. And we may do it with a spin of like, yeah, here's this, he took that loss really terribly, said awful things, but then we'll go into a prediction and we'll go into all the hype that we always do. It's a cycle of, Conor will always generate good traffic. You need traffic to survive in the industry. Media sites aren't going to stop covering him for the sake of morals.
Integrity.
Yeah, integrity, not a thing. Especially when he has his own media site that is up for a
nomination
for the World MMA Awards. It's not going to happen. So, again, it sucks that this is the position that we're in, but ultimately it's on the promotion to actually do something. They used to have a code of conduct that they essentially, I think, is technically still on the books, but they just really haven't utilized. Yeah, haven't utilized in quite some time. And if things escalate to the point where it's too far, I'm sure then there will be ramifications, right? But it's the same type of thing. A weight cutting is never going to change until someone dies. A high-profile fighter dies. Same thing here. Until there's some crazy incident, which I thought would have been the bus, but here we are using it for promotional footage. Until there's some crazy incident where someone gets seriously hurt due to words said at a press conference, doesn't matter. Nothing's going to change. It's how it is.
It's the fight business.
It's the fight business. Let us know your thoughts on Conor's tweets and everything that happened. Let us know if you have... I have seen a couple people say that they're not fans of McGregor anymore. Let us know if this kind of, turned you even more sour. If you were a fan, now you're not. If this was the straw that broke the camel's back, let us know. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you're still a fan of Conor and you think it's all just trash talk, I'd like to hear from you too. I want to hear that perspective. I want to see where you're coming from, where it's like, nah, man, Conor's fine here. Explain that to me, because we're obviously not seeing it, but we would love to hear that perspective to get an idea of what you're seeing. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification, all that as well. And until next time, I guess let's just hope that, Conor
we don't see any tweet and deletes.
Yeah. Let's just stay off social media, Conor. Just
That's good life advice.
Just get a burner. If you're gonna do that, just get a burner, man. Like Jesus.